Now 6:02, the Board of Education will now convene in open session. Roll call.
Mr. Hollinshead is absent. Mr. Lara,
Here.
Ms. Cabral,
Here.
Mrs. Cordero,
Here.
Mr. Valencia.
Present. Item A, report from closed session. For items A, B, and C, information was shared. Item B, introduction of interpreters. Tonight's interpreters are Cesar Ruiz and Susana Pineda. Greeting and support this evening is provided by Benji Alfaro. Item C, Pledge of Allegiance. Ms. Cabral, would you mind leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item D, recognition, pathway to teaching residency graduates. Our pathway to teaching residency provides a pipeline to becoming a teacher for the community of Santa Maria. It is a rigorous program where our candidates earn a multiple subjects credential with a bilingual authorization and are universal transitional kindergarten compliant. In partnership with California Lutheran University, our candidates complete their credentials in 18 months right here at the Souza Center and are fully supported by the district and through grant funding. Our residency program is anchored in equity and inclusion and celebrates multilingualism for all TK through 8 students. Our first cohort of residents graduated from Cal Lutheran University last May and began their first official year of teaching last week. Tonight, we are celebrating their amazing accomplishments. At this time, I would like to introduce Shelley Hart, Program Specialist for Teacher Development.
No.
Thank you. Good evening, school board members, superintendent, cabinet, and community. Thank you for having us here tonight for this special recognition. As we celebrate these amazing educators, I think it's important to share with you a little bit about their story and journey in getting here. Collectively, this group of 8 individuals has been with our district for over 63 years, serving our students as preschool teachers, secretaries, computer techs, and instructional assistants. They applied for our program even before we'd received our first grant. No money, and they were still all in. They attended class here at the Souza 2 nights a week for 18 months until 10 p.m. while working full-time, student teaching, and caring for their families. Their resilience and dedication to our profession and students is what I'd like to celebrate tonight. A huge part of their support system, I'd like to thank our Pathways to Teaching TOSA, Elena Toronis, who supports them every step of their way from their first sign of interest all the way through to tonight. She focuses on removing barriers and ensuring they have whatever they need to be successful. So thank you, Elena. Another critical support are their university supervisors who are here tonight. I can't even count how many years of service this group collectively has dedicated to our district, but I know it spans many, many decades. Vita Flores, Rosalie Jones, and Ann McDaniel, who's not here tonight. They will continue to support our next cohort of 19 who are currently placed for their student teaching in our classrooms. A huge thank to our mentor teachers who opened up their classrooms for an entire year to support the journey of these amazing residents. And I have to thank every single department in the Souza that comes together to support these residents, from HR, business, IT, maintenance, and of course, ed services. This program is a perfect example of a unified community inspiring hope and faith, and I'm so honored to be a part of it. So without further ado, it is my honor and privilege to share with you the first graduating class of SMBSD Pathways to Teaching residency program, who are now in our SMBSD induction program. Did you want to come help? They are very. We have Miss Anna Reyes, who's teaching TK at Fairlawn.
Do we need to stand in the back or?
No, you're good.
We have Nora Castro teaching DLI TK at Jimenez.
Yes, that's okay.
We have Maritza Padron teaching kinder at Bruce.
Congratulations.
And the rest of them, okay, Maritza. The rest of them are running late, but I would still like to recognize them. Acela Comerford teaching TK at Miller. Juan Perez is teaching first grade at Bruce. Maria Alvarez is teaching TK Adam. Alva Barrega is teaching DLI TK at Jimenez. And Gabriela Gomez is DLI at TK Jimenez as well.
Yeah. Vita, Rosalie, come on. And then you three in the front.
To our pathway folks, because this is just started the school year. It's a very hectic time of year. So there's probably a good reason why those folks are running late. They're probably grading and planning or taking a nap after a long day of working with our beautiful babies. I have the pleasure of working at Santa Maria High School as a teacher. And so I constantly get to hear what our young people are looking for and what they, liked and maybe didn't like so much from their elementary, middle school experience. And one of the things that they told me recently was they definitely want more educators who understand where they're coming from. And so having a program that leads with equity, that honors multilingualism, like that's exactly what our young people are yearning for. And so I'm so proud that our district is a part of this program. So once again, give it up for our recent graduates. We are now moving on to item E, key to the district. We will now have our first key to the district presentation for the 2024-2025 school year. Dr. McDuffie, can you tell everyone about this award?
I absolutely can. President Valencia, the key to the district, we started at the beginning of the 22-23 school year. It is an honor that's bestowed by a Santa Maria Bonita School School District Board member or trustee to recognize individuals who have made a significant and positive impact on the lives of students, families, and the broader community. This award celebrates those who go above and beyond in their dedication and service to the district. Recipients of this award have included teachers, community members, and office staff, reflecting the diverse contributions that help foster a thriving educational environment and a unified community. So with that, I hand it over to you, President Valencia.
Thank you very much. It's good to see you all from a different angle over here. Welcome, everybody, and thank you for being here for this wonderful occasion. Before I begin, I do want to make sure that I accurately pronounce the name. So can you all help me out? Is it Yensi Gardiakos? Is that correct? All right, excellent. So it is with great respect and admiration that I present Yensi Gardiakos from Bonita School with the Key to the District Award. Yensi has dedicated nearly 20 years to the Santa Maria Bonita School District, beginning as a teacher's aide at Arianas Elementary before quickly moving to Bonita School as a community liaison. This month, she took on the role of Clerk 3 at Bonita, continuing her journey of service and commitment. Yensi's connection to the Bonita community runs deep. She understands that the office is often the first point of contact for parents, and she thrives to create an environment that is both welcoming and warm. She recognizes the power of strong relationships, takes the time to get to know parents and students personally. Her impact on the school is profound. Through her actions, she fosters a sense of unity and belonging among parents, staff, and students alike. Many parents turn to her, not just for assistance with school matters, but for support in the broader community as well. Yensi's work is about more than just paperwork. It's about building trust and forging lasting relationships. She shows genuine care, resulting in families that are more willing to work with the school as a team. By addressing each family by name, she reinforces the bonds that unite students, families, and schools. Yensi's dedication to Bonita students is equally inspiring. Last year, she began hosting a monthly lunch brunch for Spanish-speaking students during her lunchtime, offering them a safe space to connect. By sharing her own story, born in El Salvador and coming to the United States as a young girl to live with her grandmother, she provides comfort and understanding to those who might feel alone. She knows firsthand the challenges of being a multilingual learner, and she wants students to know they are not alone. For Yensi, stability is key, and she strives to create a stable, loving environment for Bonita students, something she herself lacked as a child. Yensi stays in touch with the families she serves, often receiving messages of gratitude from parents and even former students who have gone on to college. Her assistance goes beyond school-related issues. She helps families navigate social services, understand their rights, and learn how to advocate for themselves within the system. Parents often wait to see Yensi specifically because they know she will give them her time and attention, extending her help far beyond the walls of the school. Yensi also empowers women within our community. She has supported many Bonita mothers to find their voice and confidence to better support their children's education. Furthermore, Yensi helped a father who needed vital resources to better support his daughter. That daughter is now thriving in school. He credits Yensi with giving him the options and hope he needed to continue supporting his daughter. Yensi firmly believes that if more people took the time to care, help and educate our families with the rights and resources available, our community would be a better place. It is my pleasure to introduce Yancy Gardiacos, Bonita School Clerk 3, as the first Santa Maria Bonita School District Key to the District recipient of the 2024-2025 school year. Ms. Gardiacos, would you like to say a few words? Congratulations. You're gonna be great.
I had to write down what I was gonna write. I'm deeply honored and grateful to receive this award, even though when I got the call, I didn't know that people could receive such award for doing something that I think it's something that anybody can do every day. I believe that we have to treat people the way we want to be treated, and that's the only reason I do what I do. And I don't want to credit myself for this. I want to be able to honor also all those people who helped me provide the resources to our families, like FSA, Fighting Back, all those employees in the district who actually go out of their way to help all our families, because it's not just me, it's a family. And again, thank you so much, and I'm deeply honored. Yeah.
All right. Item 8, public comment period, open session. The public comments are intended for members of the public to address the Board of Education on items involving the school district. Such testimony shall be limited to 3 minutes each, 450 words per person subject, and 15 minutes total for each topic. If an answer to a specific question is requested, the board president will, if appropriate, direct administration to respond in writing. This is just a reminder to all speakers and presenters to be mindful when speaking at the podium and not speak too quickly so that our interpreters can increase accuracy and keep pace with our Spanish and Mixtec speaking audience. Do we have any non-agenda public comments this evening, Dr. McDuffie?
Yes, we do. We have Selena Gomez or Selena Gonzalez.
Good evening, board members.
Good evening.
My name is Selena Gonzalez, and I'm the parent of one of the children from the incident from Tunnel Elementary kidnapping incident that just happened on August 22nd, and I'm here to express some concerns that I have. I would like to know why it took two parents to stand on a school ground at the hours of 9:45 p.m. to witness two of our Santa Maria police officers knock at our surroundings houses at Tunnel Elementary, asking for any surveillance cameras to be able to identify the person that committed such hatred crime. I can't seem to comprehend how the school district has not shown accountability for such actions, as I have not received an email from any of you, a call showing any concerns over the well-being of those two students. And let me say that one of them is not doing good. I'm here to seek answers to why is it that the elementary schools have not been brought to code. Why isn't there any cameras? Why isn't the safety of our children a priority for all of you? On August the 23rd, in the morning, I headed to Tunnel Elementary to be able to speak with Mrs. Diaz, and she was nowhere to be found at school grounds. I had other individuals within the office direct my issues and my concerns too. Yet, I have not received a call from Mrs. Diaz. After I finished my conversation with them, I came to the school district. I was here between the hours of 9:30 to 10:30, and I requested to have a meeting with Dr. McDuffie, and my request was declined. And I was told that I had to schedule a meeting with him, and I agreed, and I have yet not received a call from any of his staff members calling me to schedule that meeting. I have not received an appointment, date, and time. On August 22nd, if that person would have gotten away with kidnapping my son, I would have not had any way of identifying this person because of the lack of responsibility that there's no cameras. And I would like for you all to be held accountable for this. I request for somebody to tell me why. Why? Why isn't there any cameras in our schools? Why are our children being protected? It is your guys' all responsibility for the safety and the well-being of our students, and that's not happening. Why?
And ma'am, you are at time, but please take another 30 seconds. Please do. Take another 30 seconds if you may to wrap up.
That's pretty much why I'm here. This is a big concern. Obviously, it's all over social media that this type of incidents are occurring more often within school grounds. But I don't see none of you in front of the situation. I haven't seen anybody. None of the school board members have addressed this matter. Not to the media, not to us parents. I need somebody to reassure all of our community that our children are safe within school grounds. And I'm not hearing this. You guys are not expressing any of this. Something needs to change and something needs to be done immediately. Please.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We really appreciate your comment.
We have is it Kathy Cooley?
And Dr. McDuffie, do you know if we have other folks so that we can let them know their order so that they can be ready afterwards? One more after that? Okay.
Good evening. My name is Kathy Cooley. I am a veteran teacher at Oakley. I've been in the district for 24 years and at Oakley for 21. At the beginning of this school year, just 13 days ago, Oakley administration asked us what was the first thing we thought of when we heard the name Oakley School. Many positives came out of that question, such as Oakley having a strong staff and good morale. We've had many parents who appreciate what we do for their children, and it was a great way to start the year. Unfortunately, for me, that positivity didn't last long. At this point, when I think of Oakley, I feel ignored, I feel pushed aside, not cared about, and I feel forgotten. This is definitely not due to our administration, as we feel valued and heard by them. These feelings stem from the issues originating at the district level. Before the school year started, the district knew that Oakley did not have a working intercom. Prior to that, the intercom system has not worked properly for years. Last week, we found out that Oakley did not have a working fire response system. When we had our first fire drill, staff had to walk around campus with bullhorns to alert everyone of the drill. Our administrators have been trying to get answers about these serious safety concerns. While they have gotten some answers and they communicate these with staff members, I find it completely unacceptable that these issues remain a problem for the safety of students and staff. We house over 900 students daily, and we are being told to be diligent. If we smell smoke, we should call 911 and then alert the office. Really? Obviously, we're doing that on a regular basis, but for that to be the district response seems disrespectful and completely unsafe. All the while, we have a scheduled lockdown drill this Friday with no intercom system. In a real emergency, how is staff supposed to be alerted if we have a system that currently does not work? Imagine if something actually happens at any point between now and when the system is fixed. Imagine more negative gossip on the Santa Maria Chisme sites on social media about our schools. The whole, what's the likelihood of that happening, isn't really going to work for Oakley School anymore. We had a murder occur last year right outside our field fence during a Saturday letters training while we were all on site. If school had been in session and we didn't have an intercom, how are we supposed to call a lockdown? We need a working intercom system. Unfortunately, the intercoms are not the only problem. On Monday, a classroom that was never retrofitted or upgraded for a new class still has chalkboards, had 2 tiles crash onto our floor from leaky pipes in the ceiling. The district has known about these issues for years and would Band-Aid the problem. Well, now that Band-Aid isn't working and we need more. The district continues to talk about unity and working together and faith and safety and hope. But many, if not all Oakley staff members are definitely not feeling any of these beliefs.
Ma'am, please
Maya
take-
Angelou is credited for saying,
Ma'am, please. take
if you
10
know
seconds to
better,
Wrap up your comments.
do
You have
better.
10 seconds.
So please do better. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we have a video public comment from Kayla Ailman.
I'm Kayla Ailman, a PE teacher at Taylor Elementary. Today, I want to focus on high-quality physical education, its history within our district, and a few of its distinctions. So in our district, we started with homeroom teachers facilitating physical activity. That grew into our high school students taking a course to learn how to teach and design a PE lesson, and they would go to the elementary schools and teach that. Then our state adopted official PE state standards. We added funding through the LCAP, and then we were able to add fully trained PE teachers, and it's gradually grown to have 32 PE teachers, about 2 per site, and adapted PE. High-quality physical educators are people who have graduated from college, who also have a single subject PE credential, and are very involved with students' lives, with our district, and with our state organization. PE is very different from recess in many different ways. Recess is supervised, unstructured physical activity that includes play, organized games, has time for students to practice social engagement and social skills, and now it's required by law to be 30 minutes per day. In PE, it's a place and a space that's facilitated or taught. It's a little bit more structured. There is physical activity. We do promote play. We teach students how to play the organized games that then they get to choose at recess. We intentionally build social skills, and we're required to have 200 minutes every 2 weeks. I want to say thank you for continuing to invest in high-quality physical education, and I'm glad that we are able to do that through the LCAP. So I'd highly encourage you to continue funding us through the LCAP or other creative methods. Stay tuned for more topics like social skills, educator wellness, and other ways we can continue to make PE amazing. Thank you for listening. Have a good evening.
That's all we have.
Dr. McDuffie, do we have any public comments for agendized items this evening?
No, we do not.
Thank you. Item 9, approval of agenda as presented. May I have a motion to approve the agenda? It is moved by Ms. Cabral and seconded by Ms. Cordero to accept the agenda as presented. Roll call.
Mr. Lara?
Aye.
Ms. Cabral?
Aye.
Mrs. Cordero? Mr. Valencia?
Aye. Motion passes. Item 10, consent items. Actions proposed for the consent agenda are consistent with adopted policies and approved practices of the district and are deemed routine in nature. They will be acted upon by roll call vote in one motion without discussion unless a member of the board requests an item be pulled from the consent agenda for further discussion. Items pulled from the consent agenda will be voted on separately. May I have a motion to approve the consent items?
I'll move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
And I'll second.
It is moved by Ms. Cordero and seconded by Mr. Lara to approve the consent items as presented. Roll call.
Mr. Lara? Ms. Cabral?
Aye.
Mrs. Cordero?
Aye.
Mr. Valencia?
Aye. Motion passes. Item 11, action items. Item A, Santa Maria Bonita School District Governance Handbook. Dr. McDuffie.
Thank you, President Valencia, board members, cabinet, and audience here, and those watching live stream. I am Dr. Darren McDuffie, the proud superintendent here at Santa Maria Bonita School District. And today, we are just really reviewing the SMBSD Governance Handbook. It encapsulates the ongoing efforts of the governance team to enhance effective governance practices. Now, this handbook serves as a comprehensive guide outlining roles, responsibilities, and protocols that support a cohesive and collaborative approach to decision-making. The development of this handbook reflects the team's commitment to fostering a unified, transparent governance structure, ensuring that all members are aligned in their dedication to the serving the best interests of our students and the broader school community. So what is a governance handbook? This was created in May of 2016 originally. And this board that we presently have, we did a workshop, I believe, in March of 2024, and the governance team is not just the Board of Education, it's also me or myself. We decided to revise a handbook that would provide a framework for the work that we do. So what's included in this handbook? The 5 cardinal features. It's the vision of our district, the 5 cardinal features of our strategic plan, which are our beliefs, our mission, our objectives, our strategies, and our parameters. Start off this handbook as roles and responsibilities, not just of being an effective trustee, but responsibilities for me as superintendent. Protocols and norms are included, and other information about effective governance that's referenced from CSBA, our California School Boards Association. And so with that, we have a signature page. What's also added on here are additional resources. All you need to know, oh, no, it's not all you need to know. It says what every board member needs to know about the district. And we provided some practical resources there to orientate new board members and also to remind veteran board members as well. So with that, roles and responsibilities, just to give people an idea of the handbook and what's involved in that. The first one is setting direction for the community schools. And part of setting the direction, focusing on student learning is one. Assessing district needs is another, just to name a couple of those. Establishes an effective and efficient structure for the school district. Well, they hired a superintendent. Thank you very much. And that's part of their role as a board of education, is to employ the superintendent. They set policies. They also establish budget priorities and adopt the budget each year. Provide support through our behavior and actions. With this, really ensuring a positive personnel climate exists within SMBSD, providing direction and voting to accept collective bargaining agreements are just a couple of those things that really they support through their behavior and actions. Ensures accountability to the public. They evaluate me to make sure that I'm accountable. They monitor and review and revise policies. They monitor student achievement and program effectiveness, some of those responsibilities, and then acts as community leaders, really speaking with a common voice about district priorities, our goals, and our issues. Also, I think that's really important, advocating for children, district programs, and public education to the general public, community, and local, state, and national leaders. So that's those are some of the roles and responsibilities that are part of that handbook. And then we highlight some of the norms and protocols. As board members, we have 5 board members and the superintendent, and it can sometimes be confusing, sometimes be conflict because you have 5 different personalities. And so these agreed upon protocols were part of a discussion when we had our governance workshop. It's an opportunity to get on the same page. And these protocols are a way for this governance team to function and work better together. It gives us a framework of how we deal with aspects of the role where it doesn't become chaotic to myself or to other board members to deal with issues, nor does it become overwhelming for district staff in that manner when we have norms and protocols of how we conduct business. One of the things that our board members recognize is that they have one employee, which is myself, and they depend on me to operate the school district as their employee. These protocols and norms help to create guardrails so that all of the board members and myself communicate without breaking rules that what's considered the Brown Act. And it's a way to conduct ourselves in a way to handle things that come our way. And then this section, and I purposely put our newest board member, Miss Luz Marie Cabral, here because she was a new board member. And one of the things that I realized in giving you information is that when you're not in this environment, there are a lot of questions about who is who and what does this mean and that mean. And in this section, we put together, it's a directory of district office staff, of principals, of school sites, board member benefits, district information, onboarding checklist, and acronyms and initialisms also in there. And it's a copy of that you can actually click on the initial. So the CDE, does anyone know what the CDE stands for? The California Department of Education, right? SMBSD, anybody know? That's a little joke. But anyway, that is the newest part of the handbook that we've added to that. And I think it's going to be helpful. So once the signature page is done, I plan to post this document on the website in the board webpage for anyone in the public to see what it is that how we govern the Santa Maria Bonita School District. And so that will happen pretty soon. I want us all to be have this information accessible as to how we govern. I want to end by saying that this doesn't mean that we will be perfect. We are not, nor I think we will. We shouldn't strive for perfection, but for progress and leading in the way where we are creating a unified community. And when we can model this type of behavior through our handbook, we can say that it's not just the words or slogan, but rather it's evident in our actions, how we work together and how we govern this school district together. So I want to thank you, board members, for your service. And before you entertain this handbook for approval, do you have any questions or comments at this time?
Board members, any questions or comments? Ms. Cabral?
I do like that new board member portion where it gives you all the information about the board, the acronyms. Yes, so very well put together. Thank you.
Thank you.
I would agree.
Your mic, Ms. Cordero?
It seems to be very comprehensive, and while much of it is based on common sense, it is spelled out clearly and with appropriate references. And for anyone who is not in the business of education, the acronym pages, there are quite a few,
Mhm.
are very helpful.
And I don't have a question, just more of a comment. I appreciate the fact that as a board, we are intending to continuing to learn how to be effective in our leadership, more effective in our leadership. If we ask our students to be learners in class, we ask our teachers to be learners, right, in their professional development, we wish to model also our own learning. And so I think this governance handbook helps us with that learning so that we can be better leaders in our community. And I look forward to continuing to learn and to be a better board member for this community. So thank you, Mr. McDuffie.
Thank you, President Valencia.
Any other questions or comments from the board? All right, seeing none, may I have a motion?
I go ahead and move that the Board of Education approve the governance handbook as presented. And I'll second that.
It is moved by Ms. Cabral and seconded by Ms. Cordero that the Board of Education approve the governance handbook as presented. Roll call.
Mr. Lara,
Aye.
Ms. Cabral,
Aye.
Mrs. Cordero,
Aye.
Mr. Valencia.
Aye. Motion passes. Item B, Resolution 24-03, National Hispanic Heritage Month. Dr. McDuffie?
Thank you. Every year, from September 15th to October 15th, Americans celebrate National Hispanic Heritage Month by appreciating the community's history, heritage, and contributions of the ancestors of American citizens who came from Mexico, Spain, the Caribbean, and South and Central America. To commemorate National Hispanic Heritage Month, the Board of Education is asked to review and consider for adoption the attached resolution.
Are there any questions or comments from the board? There is a question that I do have, Dr. McDuffie. Who can our staff turn to for resources should they be interested in organizing an event at their school, such as an assembly, a guest speaker? That was a challenge that I posed for for the staff here in our district on ways to celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month. I know we've done some wonderful things in the past, and so who can our staff turn to get some support for resources or ideas?
I'll direct that question to Ms. Locho of Educational Services.
Good evening.
Good evening.
You could direct those questions to me. And then our new director of Teaching and Learning Core, Katie Salcedo, either one of us would be able to support any inquiries regarding those topics.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And Ms. Cordero?
I know over the past several years, information has been sent out to staff for not only Hispanic heritage, but most of the other things that are recognized in the district. And it's quite an extensive list of resources and options.
That is correct, and we'll continue to do that.
Prior to making the motion or to moving to a motion, I would like to invite my board colleagues to read the various paragraphs of the resolution. Should you be interested in doing that? Is that something you're all okay with? Great. Why don't we take it one paragraph at a time? Mr. Lara, would you mind getting us started?
Whereas Hispanic Heritage Month is a time to recognize and celebrate the significant contributions and achievements of Hispanic Americans, and to acknowledge the rich cultural heritage and diverse traditions of Hispanic communities.
Whereas the observance of Hispanic Heritage Month, which runs from September 15 to October 15, coincides with the independence anniversaries of several Latin American countries, including Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, Nicaragua, Mexico, and Chile.
Whereas Hispanic Americans have made invaluable contributions to the economic, cultural, social, and political fabric of our nation, enriching our communities and enhancing our collective prosperity through their diverse skills, experiences, and perspectives.
Whereas it is essential to honor the legacy of Hispanic American pioneers, leaders, and visionaries who have paved the way for future generations, and to support the continued progress and empowerment of Hispanic individuals and communities across the country.
Whereas this month provides an opportunity to educate ourselves and others about the history, culture, and achievement of Hispanic Americans, fostering a greater understanding and appreciation for their role in shaping our nation.
Now and therefore be it resolved that during Hispanic Heritage Month 2024, we commit to celebrating the diverse cultures, traditions, and contributions of Hispanic Americans through community events, educational programs, and cultural activities, recognizing the historical and ongoing impact of Hispanic Americans in all of areas of society, including arts, sciences, business, politics, and community service, promoting inclusion and equality for supporting initiatives and policies that address the needs and challenges faced by Hispanic communities, encouraging dialogue and engagement with our communities to build bridges of understanding and solidarity among people of all backgrounds.
Be it further resolved that we honor and appreciate the vibrant heritage of Hispanic Americans, not only during Hispanic Heritage Month, but throughout the entire year as we strive to create a more inclusive and equitable society for all.
Thank you very much, board colleagues. And this is also an opportunity to remind ourselves that approximately 95% of our community is of Latino descent. So these are the babies, that we serve every day among the other diverse groups that we have that represent the other 5%. And so this is an opportunity, right, to celebrate and to honor, not just, like it says in our resolution here during this month, but, throughout the year. So if there are no further questions or comments from the board, may I have a motion?
I go ahead and move that the Board of Education adopt Resolution 2403, National Hispanic Heritage Month as presented.
And I will second that.
It is moved by Ms. Cabral and seconded by Ms. Cordero that the Board of Education adopt Resolution 24-03, National Hispanic Heritage Month as presented. Roll call.
Mr. Lara,
Aye.
Ms. Cabral,
Aye.
Mrs. Cordero,
Aye.
Mr. Valencia.
Aye. Motion passes. Item 12, discussion items. Item A, summary of panorama survey results. Mrs. Grok.
Good evening, board members, and thank you for having me. It is a pleasure to present for you today the results of our survey, which was conducted in the spring of 2024 with our students, our staff, and our families. So as you know, social and emotional learning is the process through which all young people and adults acquire and apply knowledge, skills, and attitudes to develop healthy identities, manage their emotions, and achieve personal and collective goals. As such, SEL advances educational equity and excellence through authentic school, family, community partnerships to establish learning environments and experiences that feature trusting and collaborative relationships, rigorous and meaningful curriculum and instruction, and ongoing evaluation. So we spend a lot of time on these SEL competencies because SEL can help address various forms of inequity and can empower young people and adults to co-create thriving schools and to contribute to safe, healthy, and just communities. Research from CASTLE, the Collaborative for Academic, Social, and Emotional Learning, shows that investment in SEL has led to improved classroom behavior, better stress management, and 11% gains in academic performance. SMB is working to take a systemic approach that emphasizes equitable learning environments. This approach requires frequent data collection and progress monitoring. And the tool that we have chosen to use is the Panorama SEL survey. So why did we choose to use the Panorama education surveys? First of all, they're all research-backed surveys with nationally normed comparisons, as well as similar demographic regions, which allow us not only to compare ourselves to our previous responses, but also to a nationally normed set of responses. It is one secure platform for all respondents, and the Panorama Consortium is a member of the Student Data Privacy Consortium. When we're collecting very sensitive SEL data from respondents about their feelings and thoughts, it's important that we're able to protect that data. It provides for us a comprehensive data analysis and reporting options so that we can use the data that we collect in meaningful ways in order to make data-driven decisions. It is valid and reliable data on what matters most to SMBSD because it provides a bank of questions plus customization. So we are able to drill down into the specifics of the questions that we want to ask and get the data that we want feedback on. It is aligned to the Santa Maria Joint Union High School District platform, which provides an ease of use for students and families. Santa Maria Joint Union High School District uses Panorama for their LCAP progress monitoring in Goal 2.3, which is school climate for staff and for families. The survey is supported in 30 or more languages, and the free response visualizations and analytics provided through word clouds and highlighted keywords in the responses give our managers an easy and quick reference point to begin to look at the data that has been provided by identifying trends and frequency. So the Panorama survey is distributed to our students, to our teachers and staff, and to our families. The survey themes for student competency focus on student behaviors, feelings about school, and feelings about their teacher. The student equity and inclusion survey, which is given to our 4th through 8th grade students, focus on feelings about school with regard to different races, ethnicities, and cultures. The teacher and staff survey provides questions about the teaching environment, general school impressions, the staff members' well-being and sense of belonging, their feelings about professional growth and learning, their feelings about leadership, cultural awareness and action, and their ability and readiness to educate all students. And our family survey surveys those respondents about their perceptions of their child's school and their child's school environment, any engagements that those families might have, any barriers that those families might have to engagement, how they feel about school safety, cultural awareness and action, diversity, and inclusion. How does the survey work? Each question has 5 responses, which range from the least positive response, so things like almost nothing, not at all, or never, to the most positive responses, things like to a tremendous amount, extremely, or very frequently. The results are reported in percentages of positive responses, which is the total percent of respondents who chose one of the 2 most positive responses on the right to each question. Panorama reports include breakdowns of results based on background questions that identify respondents' race, ethnicity, primary home language, education level, etc., which is facilitated by its response to integration with our Aries database. It also gives individual student results available for the SEL competencies, which allow our service providers, including our school counselors, to reach out to individual students who may need extra support. So our spring survey was held in the spring of 23-24. These are our response rates. So for the teachers and staff survey, we had a slight decrease from the winter in participation. For students, a slight decrease in the participation. For students in 3rd through 8th grade on the competency survey, a more than slight decrease. And for the teacher perception of students, which is teachers rating TK through 2nd grade students who cannot answer the survey for themselves, a slight decrease. We did have an increase of 151 responses over the fall response for the family, for a total of 648 responses. The format of the survey, which is digital, can be a barrier to some of our families. And although we do provide it in English and Spanish, the written language itself can be a barrier. Suggestions for increasing the survey responses that we have brainstormed include having schools give families an on-site opportunity, such as pairing the survey with an existing event like back to school night or open house, to take the survey with Chromebooks or iPads in a kiosk type setting. I say kiosk, everybody else says kiosk. The timing of the survey can be changed so that it is not lost in the excitement of new school year openings, for instance. And we could also make paper and pencil options available. So we're going to work with Student and Family Services to try to get the response rate up even higher, especially for our family respondents. At this point, before I get into the actual results of the survey, are there any questions about the platform itself or our response rates?
Mr. Lara?
I got a question. On the slide that you're showing the 3rd through 6th graders, they had 17 questions to answer. Is that what it is? Is that a sufficient amount of time, 6 minutes, for 3rd graders to kind of comprehend these questions? I mean, are they being read to them?
So we do provide for every site test coordinator to provide to the staff a package of support for this, which includes a lesson to present to their class before they take the panorama survey. It walks them through what the lowest to highest responses mean, what a Likert scale is, and why we're asking these questions. And then it has some vocabulary as well, so that if there's any unfamiliar words for students that they might encounter in the survey, they can be front loaded or scaffolded with those as well. That approximate minutes to complete is actually the national approximate of actual survey takers. So I feel pretty confident. Kids get into the groove and start to really understand. The questions are very readable for their grade level, and I feel pretty confident that they're responding appropriately.
Yeah, because it just, for 3rd to 6th grade, for 17 questions in 6 minutes, to me, that just doesn't seem like it's enough time, just because of their age. And so,
yeah, I mean, if you think about it, like there's a question overall, how much have you learned from this teacher? During class, how motivating are the activities? These would be 4th through 8th grade questions. For this class, how clearly does this teacher present this information? So I feel like 3 questions per minute is pretty doable and not a concern.
Other questions or comments from the board? Ms. Brock, what is our plan to have more of our staff be able to take the survey? Am I correct that 67.1 of our staff took the survey? Is that correct?
That's correct. So we do try to be very cognizant of the fact that this is an SEL survey. And so we do not require it of staff members. And while we send them a reminder if they have not completed their staff link, we don't badger or hound them to get it done. We have hovered right between 62 and 70% for all of our surveys as I recall, all the way back to the beginning of this survey platform being in use. And Panorama assures us that for teachers and staff, anything over 50% is actually is above the national norm. I think some of the things that we could do are to provide time in a staff meeting and especially time for classified as well. And there may be a technology component as well for our classified, but the platform is available on cell phones and it's pretty easy to use on a cell phone. So maybe just a reminder to classified staff that they have that option available.
I definitely appreciate that idea of incorporating this into staff development time, because as educators, we get emails and, we're in the classroom, so that's not easy to do on our own time. But if it's built into the professional in our staff, then they have the time to actually, get that survey done so that we can hear, right? The quality of their ideas, and diversity of their ideas. So I appreciate that suggestion. I definitely want to recommend moving forward with that so that we can hopefully expand those survey takers.
Thank you. I'm going to move on now to our actual survey responses. And so I wanted to start with a little bit of platform usage over time. So this is from September of 2023 to May of 2024, the end of the beginning of the first window and the end of the second window. And you can see here the two lines. The pink line is accessing the survey responses. So that would be people looking at our participation rates and our response rates and making data-informed decisions for their sites or for their classrooms about what that response says. The green line is the student success platform. So that would be individuals looking at individual student responses and determining what supports or interactions those students might need. So of course, we peak with a post-survey administration engagement at the end of each survey window. And then sort of in February as well, which is the staff and student window number 2, but we only survey families in the spring and the fall. So the average daily time on the Panorama platform is 7 minutes and 24 seconds per user. So that's enough time to get in, look, see what your responses are, and pull a list of students for your classroom that might need something. So I have not provided this usage data for you before. And I know that you've asked, like, how do we know people are using it? So this is one of the pieces that we can look at. And then here is our platform usage over time with our totals, total active minutes, number of success page views, number of survey page views, and then playbook views. So remember, one of the reasons that we use Panorama is because when a teacher or a site administrator looks at a group of responses and identifies a need. So maybe there's a trend that students don't have a lot of grit, or students aren't able to express their needs to an adult. They can then immediately follow a link to the playbook, and Panorama provides multiple classroom lessons and individual lesson plans that are research-based, so that the teacher or the person looking at that data can use those in the classroom. So you might have a classroom lesson on expressing your needs or something like that. So that's what the playbook views are. And then we're going to get right into what we learned from the survey, or what we heard our respondents say. So we're going to start with student voice. The most important is always how are students feeling? And so in this survey window, having an adult to count on in 3rd through 6th grade was down slightly from winter. And in 7th through 8th grade, there was no change from winter, but it was down 7 percentage points from an all-time high in fall of 2022. How well do students consider the perspectives of others and empathize with them? This is the social awareness package of questions. It's not one question, it's a package of questions. And in this area, 3rd through 6th grade is at 56%, which is down 1 percentage point from last fall. However, this percentage has been steadily declining from our all-time high in the fall of 2021 of 67% to its current 56%. In 7th and 8th grade, 42% of students responded positively to social awareness, which was no change from the winter, but is down 16 percentage points from our all-time high in February of 2021. Only 39% of 3rd through 6th grade students felt that they could quite clearly or extremely clearly describe their feelings. By 7th and 8th grade, that number has dropped to less than 1 in 4 7th and 8th graders feeling that they can clearly describe their feelings. And in terms of sense of belonging in 3rd through 6th grade, the rating was 67% positive, which is down slightly 1% from last winter and down from an all-time high of 72% in the winter of 22-23. In 7th and 8th grade, 33% overall ranked their sense of belonging as high, which is down 10% from our all-time high last fall at 43%. I'm going to go through the rest of these responses, but I want to assure you that the second portion of this presentation is what are we doing with these responses. So I'm going to encourage you to just hold all of this data in your head for a minute, and then we'll get to what does it mean and what are we doing now. So school climate is our next area of rating for our students. When we ask students overall, how high are your teachers' expectations of you? In 3rd through 6th grade, students said 74%, and in 7th through 8th grade, that had dropped dramatically to 46%. How well does your school help students speak out against racism? This was a question in the 4th through 8th grade survey only. It was not asked to K through 3, and 51% of students felt positively that their school does help students speak out against racism. In terms of the perceptions of the overall social and learning climate of the school, this is a package of questions that amalgamates into the school climate rating. In 3rd through 6th grade, that positive rating is 52%, while in 7th and 8th grade, it is only 28%. And then perceptions of student physical and psychological safety at school. How safe do students feel at our schools? 59% of 3rd through 6th grade students felt that they were safe at school, while 49% of 7th and 8th graders felt that they were safe at school. We then went on to survey our teachers and staff. How much do employees feel that they are valued members of the school community? What is their sense of belonging? It is 60% for certificated staff members and 69% for classified. Sense of belonging among staff is one of the survey topics that we can compare to schools across the country. So the classified 69% positive rating places us in the 60th percentile on this topic nationwide, while the certificated 60% positive responses place SMBSD near the 40th percentile nationwide. Perceptions of the amount and quality of feedback that staff receive, 46% of certificated and 57% of classified felt positive about their feedback and coaching. And then perceptions of the quantity and quality of equity-focused professional learning opportunities available. 35% of certificated were satisfied with those offerings, while 49% of classified were. And then finally, we asked the question, when you face challenges at work, how supportive are your school leaders? 62% of certificated and 66% of classified said that they were very well supported or well supported by their school leaders. The family engagement survey asked, to what extent do you think that children enjoy going to your child's school? And 67% of our families felt that our children did enjoy going to the school. And then their rating of school safety was 53%. And the perception of cultural awareness and action for our families was at 41%. Then we asked, how big of a problem are issues for becoming involved with your child's current school? And 80% of our families had positive responses. And what that means is that they are not barriers to engagement, because the most positive response would be it's not a barrier at all. So barriers to engagement are overall very low, with 80% not identifying issues as barriers. So several barriers were included, such as childcare, transportation, communication, and information. The most positive rating, indicating that parents are not hindered by this issue, was transportation, with just 13% of our families indicating that transportation is a medium or large problem for them getting involved at their school. And just 1% of our families indicated that transportation is a very large problem. So shout out to M and O. The identified largest barrier to parent involvement with the school was found in parents' lives, with 1/3 of all family respondents indicating that how busy their own schedules are was a medium, large, or very large barrier to involvement at their child's school. I'm going to pause there for just a second again with my caveat that we are going to talk about what we do with all of this data and how we respond to it. But are there any clarifying questions about any of these points of data?
Can you please go back a few slides to the one that addressed staff perceptions? It was one of the last boxes.
This is our teacher and staff slide.
Let's see. Let's see. Okay, I believe this is the slide. I just wanted to take a moment to make sure that I understood the percentages there.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you very much.
Awesome. Okay, so new this year on the Panorama platform is an artificial intelligence enhanced normed scoring of student responses. I'm about to get really geeky on you. So if it's too much, that's okay. So new this year is Panorama's enhanced survey reporting using AI. So normed scoring is a research-backed scoring method that shows how students scored relative to others at their grade level nationally, providing valuable insights into student performance by comparing individual scores to a national reference group. We utilize normed scoring to help educators understand how their students are performing relative to their peers nationwide, as well as making reliable comparisons across different grade levels within our district and across topics. This approach ensures that student data is contextualized and offers a clear picture of strengths and areas for growth. So consider for a moment a student named Zoe. So Zoe scored 8 out of 10 on a test or a survey response. Without normed scoring, this might be seen as a high score or a low score, depending on the test's perceived difficulty and how well Zoe has done on tests in the past. However, by comparing Zoe's score to those of her peers, we might find that most students scored 6 out of 10, indicating that Zoe's 8 out of 10 was a better than average performance. In other words, we can use normed scoring to put Zoe's test results into context by measuring how students are scoring relative to their peers and by providing detailed comparisons across grade levels and topics. This method prevents misinterpretations that might arise from looking at raw scores and leaving educators susceptible to making assumptions about the student's performance. So in our package on how diverse, integrated, and fair school is for students from different races, ethnicities, or cultures, our normed response has 54% of our students showing this as a strength or on track, while 46% of students score in a range that says that this might be an opportunity for growth for them. Diversity and inclusion, national normed responses. In perceptions of the overall social and learning climate of the school, 74% of our students scored this as a strength or on track, of a very large percentage, while 26% indicated that this might be an area of opportunity for growth for the staff to intercede with these students. In sense of belonging, how much students feel that they are valued members of the school community, 71% of our students reported this as a strength or on track for this topic versus 29% indicating that this is an opportunity for growth. So I'm going to pause there. Are there any questions about any of those responses, or did I lose? That's okay. I'm happy to answer any questions you have about the norm scoring or any of that that's new data this year. It excites me. Okay. All right. So that brings us to the last portion of our presentation. Knowing how these presentations have gone in the past and what clarifying questions and follow-up questions the board has asked. We, as an Ed Services Department, really looked at this data and at this presentation and said, how can we really enhance the value of this presentation for the board? And I think what we heard overwhelmingly was that the board wants to know how the results and the data are used, like real world examples from Santa Maria Benita School District. And so it is a pleasure for me to turn over the microphone to Dr. Palmerston, who will be discussing the use of the results in the field.
All right. Good evening. Thank you, Mrs. Grock, for walking us through why Panorama, what the results show, and so being asked to help support our overall understanding of how this data is being used. I had the opportunity over the last couple of weeks to go and speak with some of our top users. The majority of our top users of the Panorama platform in our district are assistant principals who often serve as our test site coordinators, who are accessing the platform in a variety of ways. So I have three areas. How are the results being used? What's the data actually being used for? And how is the playbook specifically being used? And so the first one, the majority of our top users share that the data is presented in sort of three different avenues for whole staff meetings in presenting the school-wide data, much like you've received the district data today, data presentations for a whole staff. Our culture and climate teams, then in a smaller focus group, looking at specific data within the context of the school environment, and we'll share how that might inform some of the decisions they're making. And then there are opportunities that were shared with me and from my own experiences at the school site level that the Panorama data being used for some of our professional learning on our minimum days. I switch this one. Whoops, wrong direction. So what is it being used for other than presenting on the staff level? School sites have reported that they've informed assembly topics, whether those are Friday or Monday assemblies that have specific examples of social emotional supports or specific skills that come from the results of the school site level. One of our top users described the school informing their seeking out specific guest or motivational speakers for two different types of events at their school. And then also combined with that, engaging parents for specific topics that either a guest speaker or school staff would speak on. One of our top users is one of our elementary counselors who uses that to support her own lessons. And as a counseling group, they have used some of this to inform their own counselor lessons that they're designing to support three areas within our school, including social emotional learning at all grade levels. And then finally, the playbook specifically, the specific tasks and activities, the counselor lessons as a description, both from a top user counselor and others, using playbook specific lessons that come right out of Panorama that give guides to engaging classroom lessons on a variety of topics. And the counselor I spoke with specifically said they use the data to find what's most needed at her school site, and then used specific lessons there from the playbook aligned with that. And then in-class strategies is an example I'm familiar with that using the playbook to identify and support teachers and knowing, hey, here are some in-class strategies that kind of go with the next bullet point, which is a resource of here are some beginning of the school year activities that have been collated in a way that fits the school site level. And then also specifically, one of our top users also described a professional learning session that was designed last year specific to junior high I'm very familiar with to help with end of the year and supporting specific student behaviors and staff in supporting positively our student behaviors kind of the springtime at one of our final minimum days of the year. And so here are some examples in those three areas. How are we presenting data? how are we using the data, and the playbook specifically. So with that, I'll invite questions for either myself or Mrs. Grock that you might have.
Ms. Cordero?
I know that we now have an SEL curriculum, though I don't recall off the top of my head what it is. How well does that correlate with information gathered through the Panorama surveys?
So second step has been identified as our Tier 1 SEL curriculum. And so the SEL lessons specific to implementation across the board as Tier 1 will support that Tier 1 piece. And I would anticipate that the Panorama survey would then help assess the progress towards support for SEL. And so we would look for, as we further implement that, changes and improvements in our overall data.
So would that be something that might happen at each school site, either within a grade level or within a spectrum?
Yeah, so the plan for Tier 1 second step curriculum is for across the board. We have identified core lessons across the board in TK through 8th grade. And so for all students.
Thank you.
Thank you for that question.
Follow-up question for myself is, what changes did we make as a result of last year's data?
On the district-wide level, as I'm collecting the information to help how we're using that data, I may not be able to speak specifically to the district-wide changes. Other than I've spoken to the fact that over the last year, we have identified and selected a Tier 1 SEL curriculum for a second step. And so that is a major step forward for us as a system, is ensuring that we have a consistent Tier 1 instruction and materials. Anything else you want to add?
I would say that besides the second step adoption, the biggest response to this survey, as well as other input from community members, is the creation of the multilingual department. So that was informed by the responses that our families and students had about how we can support students in really promoting their cultures. And so the creation of the multilingual department, I think, is a direct result of the information that we received from this survey.
And then as a follow-up, what changes will we make this year based on the survey?
I think we'll continue to refine our processes. We made some major overhauls with the LCAP and the 4 goals versus 7. And so we continue to make those investments based on this set of data as well as other pieces of data. And we'll continue to make those refinements and then consult with the LCAP committee if they need to be more major rewrites.
Ms. Grock? Mr. Valencia, I'd like to add to that question. I think just based on the data that's shared today, one of the things that I thought about is we have a lot of good data looking specifically, and I think Ms. Grock shared the one slide regarding accessing the platform, the data. Something that we could look into making sure that it happens this year. Today was the first day of kickoff of our Leadership Academy for our principal. So how do we bring this data into Leadership Academy so that we can help our principals understand their own data at their site, and then being really intentional about changes that they could take back to their building?
Thank you. I really appreciate how forthright we are with our data. I saw a lot of data that, I definitely would like to see improved. And I think all of us, I don't think anybody in this room, right, is satisfied if students perceive that sometimes the expectations of the staff are low, or if they don't feel safe on campus, either socially or emotionally or physically, right? And so I appreciate that, because we know that all districts have areas for growth. And I feel like when we own our data, we're able to, address it as opposed to pretend like, these things are all fully met. So I'm excited about the challenge, for the opportunity for our district to continue to rise to the occasion to enhance our results. Are there any other questions or comments from the board? Okay. Thank you very much. And prior to continuing with our agenda, let's take a 5-minute recess. Oh, yeah, thank you. Thank you for that. So prior to moving into our recess, if there are no further questions, the Board of Education acknowledges receipt of the Teaching and Learning Panorama Survey results as presented. Great. Let's pause and take a 5-minute recess prior to the continuation. convene. We are on item B, Cabe, Oaxaca recap, Ms. Lochengbu and Dr. Castillo Schiffer. And prior to you all beginning, I thought it was important to also take a 5-minute recess, not only for humane purposes. The board has been in session already, it's closed session since 5:15. And I think it's really essential to pause, take a short break and be ready for what's coming next. Because I know how being through long meetings can go and I don't want to rush it. I want to give it the time that it merits. And so thank you for that pause.
We're saving the best for last. So good evening, board
Good evening.
members, Dr. McDuffie, cabinet and members of the community. Dr. Schiffer and I are excited to be here with you all this evening to share with you our amazing experience at the end of June. We had an opportunity to travel to Oaxaca with Cabe. And as Dr. Schiffer and I were thinking about what do we share because it was such an amazing experience, we're going to kick it off with the video because for us to just stand here and tell you about experience, we're not going to do justice to the experience that we have. So we put together, bear with us. It is an 8-minute video, seems really long, but as I was going through my photo app on my phone, hundreds of photos that I took and could not decide like which ones to leave out. So it is an 8-minute video, but I think it really captured our full experience. We're gonna, I think I can cue this up, right? All right. I can.
Yo la lana no la produzco, no cuento con la temperatura adecuada. Normalmente la compramos por la sierra o la mixteca, que en esas zonas son zonas altas. De esa manera provoca que el vellón del borrego crezca más de lo normal y se obtiene la mejor calidad de leche.
So it's will be the very delicate fine fibers or will be the cutting pellets. You're going to be able to align where it be these fibers. And they're going to be able to remove where it be the bits of trash that weren't able to be.
Wasn't that amazing? There's no way that Dr. Schiffer and I could stand here and just really fully describe our experience. It was, for me, it was one of those one in a lifetime experience. As a Hmong American woman, traveling to a place like Oaxaca, where nobody looks like me, I don't speak the language, and I'm having to rely on Dr. Schiffer, who often will say, like my Spanish, she was a great interpreter. She guided us through the airport, navigated Mexico City's airport because, oh man, that was quite the experience. But for me, being in a country where nobody looks like me, in the US, I can navigate because I have the English language to do that, right? And things make sense. But when you're in a different country, if you've never experienced being in another country where you unfamiliar with the culture and the language, and to be uncomfortable and be okay with being uncomfortable was very humbling. And it is an experience that I will never forget. Being in Oaxaca, so Dr. Schiffer and I are going to talk about two of our biggest learning. I'm going to speak to the preservation of culture, language, and identity. And Dr. Schiffer will speak about like the families and communities, because those, as we reflected on our experience there, what were some of our biggest takeaway? What were some of our biggest learning? Because anytime you have an experience like this, how do we bring this back into Santa Bonita to help us improve what we're already doing or what we're not doing, right? And so as I spent my time there and thinking about my own experience as a Hmong American refugee who came to this country at the age of 6. And even though I was in a country where I didn't speak the language, unfamiliar with the culture, and I kept telling Dr. Schiffer, I was like, I feel connected, right? We're from different parts of the world, but I feel connected in that the stories that I heard about the families. And as we visited MBO, the university, where you had students coming from the 8 regions representing the different indigenous groups. As students at MBO learning how to be teachers, getting their credentials so that they can go back to their villages and be able to teach in their village. There were just so many opportunities for me to make connections. And at MBO, when we arrived, they had set up this huge tent with all these chairs. They cooked a meal for us, and we all sat down and had a communal meal together. I'm like, that's what we do in our Hmong community. When we get together, it's the same kind of setup. It's all buffet style because the ladies are in the back cooking, right? And so there were so many opportunities for me to make personal connections, even though like just culturally, linguistically, we're also different, but the fight to preserve the language, because that's what we're also doing in the Hmong community. We've been in this country for almost 50 years, and more generations compared to many of our indigenous families here in the Santa Bonita, where we have generations of our students who don't speak Hmong anymore. So as I reflect on my own leadership here in Santa Bonita, how do I help our families here through my own personal experience of fighting to preserve the Hmong language? How do I help our community here in Santa Bonita to establish programs or opportunities for our families, our students to be able to learn their heritage language? I know we're expanding DLI around Spanish, but then we have this indigenous population that is among us, and how do we help that? I know when we presented around the DLI expansion, we had talked about opportunities for offering language and culture classes in the after-school program. So that is something that we are also interested in wanting to do. And with Dr. Schiffer's department and Lori's department, we will work to figure out how do we offer this opportunity? How do we also tap in to the community and bring in those community experts? Because my experience in Oaxaca, in meeting some of our elders and the talents and the language skills that they're able to, and the history that they're able to share, how amazing for us to be able to bring in some of our families to be able to educate our young folks. Because oftentimes, as I think about my own parents, where language was that barrier, and oftentimes they didn't show up in schools. And then I think about my experience in St. Paul, where we had a Hmong dual language immersion program, and we brought in elders, and they felt valued and validated because I can contribute, even though I don't speak the language, because I have my own expertise, right? And they come in and they share their musical skills, their poetry, the embroideries. And I think about like, so you saw in the video where Tammy and I got to experience, there are two sisters who own this, what was that? The weaving. I forget the name of this business that they run, but they taught us the process of how the wool is sheared off of the sheep, and then how it's brought to the homes and the process of turning that wool. So when you saw Dr. Schiffer doing this, it was really to detangle the wool, right? And eventually weaving that into these beautiful rugs. And you notice that many of those patterns meant something, right? And as Dr. Schiffer and I are walking around the, now I don't remember what it's called, but so the big market square. The center, there was a term to describe, right? But vendors and just seeing the families out there and looking at the arts and the patterns, I was like, Dr. Schiffer, I recognize some of those patterns because those are patterns that we also have in my culture. And this is what it means, right? And I was wearing one of my necklaces yesterday and Dr. Schiffer goes, my shoe, that looks really interesting. It's interesting how similar patterns, like, yes, and that's the elephant foot, right? Because I saw those patterns somewhere else, and I'm sure it meant something else different in another country. But just for me, again, as a Hmong woman being in that country, not speaking not speaking the language, if you've never experienced that, you have to, when you have an opportunity, put yourself in that uncomfortable situation because it really humbles you. And it really speaks to our families and resilience when they're here in this country. So as I think more about what we can do here in San Bernardino, in our classrooms, in our district, if we can continue to celebrate and preserve our Indigenous culture, language, and identity within the school, it's not just that it's important, it's essential. We need to figure out how to do this. For many of our Indigenous students, this recognition will validate their heritage, foster self-esteem, and a deep sense of belonging, right? One of our belief is a sense of making sure everyone feels like they belong. And when we can honor that, folks will feel that they belong within this community. When students see their culture reflected in their education, they're more engaged and motivated to be successful or to learn. But most importantly, as we think about our other students in those classrooms who are not Indigenous, what an opportunity for them to also learn about another culture. Because when we do that, we enrich the learning experiences for all students, promoting cultural understanding and empathy. That's been the theme the last couple of weeks here at Sousa, is about empathy. This commitment to preserve Indigenous identity is an investment in the future of our community, ensuring that we honor and sustain the diverse voices that continue to strengthen and the resilience of our schools. Through cultural and linguistic preservation efforts, this is one powerful step we can take forward in creating a more inclusive and equitable education for all of our students. As I was looking at the data that Lori shared earlier, I think one of the data point was around equity training. I think it was the teacher data point. And I'm looking at those percentages. It's pretty low. And it's pretty low because we haven't really made a lot of effort in that area. And so thinking about what commitment we can make as a district to ensure that we are committing to providing equity and inclusion, professional learning for all of our staff, because our students are here in front of us every single day. So I'm not taking any more time. I'm going to hand it over to Dr. Schiffer to kind of share her own experience.
I'll keep it short. Maiju captured a lot of what it was that we experienced, and I have to say that my heart was full when I visited. There was such a connection, and I have two left feet. But when someone was so welcoming and said, "Come dance with me," how do you say no? One of the takeaways for me was creating that environment. We were in lots of different places with people we had never met before, but they welcomed us. and they shared with us. And it was just such a beautiful experience. And it reminded me that if you create the environment, then people will participate and people will feel like they're part of something bigger. It was just such a beautiful experience. I think about many of the folks that we talked to shared the culture, the structure with us, and thinking about how it is that we can modify our structures, change what we are doing and the parameters that we have set to create that inclusive and welcoming environment, not just where you're sitting at the table, but where you feel like you're a partner and you have an impact and you're valued. I had an interesting experience being the interpreter on the trip. That was not a role that I had necessarily filled before. And it made me think of our students who very often fill that role for their parents. We've done a lot to make sure that that doesn't happen so much here at school, but you think about out in the community when they're navigating other systems. There was a cognitive load there. I was using all of the vocabulary that I had, but then also thinking it wasn't just me that I was interpreting for. I had the boss with me, so it was a little bit of a not a stressful sort of thing, but I was definitely aware that I was interpreting for more than just myself. So I think about how amazing and resilient our kids are because they fill those roles and they understand the importance of working as a team and as a group. And that was one of the other takeaways that I had was really when folks shared about the structure of living in some of the villages and how people put themselves, they put the group above themselves. And when something was asked of a member of the group, that person took a lot of personal responsibility for what they were charged with doing, but the others in the group supported them in that role. And I just think about, all of the different roles that we fill as a team here at the district, as a team at the school sites, but also when we include our parents and our families as part of our educational team. How is it that we honor their role and then support them in that, understanding that it's different from our own? So I won't talk anymore, but it was really a beautiful experience. Thank you.
So with that, we'll take any questions.
I think they're like speechless because I know I am because this definitely for me was one of the best presentations that I've received as a board member. I think you were joking when you said, we save the best for last, but no, you weren't joking. And I don't say that, as a way to disregard the previous presentations we received. They all have value so that we could be informed. But what I really appreciate about what you said is you're truly talking about how do we live our values as an institution? Because we could talk a good game all day long and get blue in the face of how we are data driven and equity driven and we care about our students and our families. But if we are not as intentional as we need to be, then if we're not getting at the core, at the heart of learning, which is honoring the people that are in front of us, no matter what background they come from, then none of the other wonderful things we're trying to do are going to get accomplished. And it sounds to me like this learning experience really empowered you all. I'm confident that you already had those values, but I could see how it's taken your resolve to another level. And I want all of us as an institution to feel that sense of urgency. Because without it, if it's just you two feeling that way, how are we going to move this institution forward? So I won't repeat back the many wonderful things that you all said, but know that your message is loud and clear, that we must be committed to honoring the language and the culture of our students. And I feel so proud to be a part of a community that has a thriving Oaxaqueño community, a community from Guerrero, where they speak multiple languages, have multiple cultures. And you're right, we haven't really been so intentional with teaching each other and our staff about this thriving culture that exists right here in Santa Maria, so that we could better tap into that wisdom, that knowledge, to help our students thrive. So I commend you both for taking some of your summer to do some learning. I know it wasn't too much of a sacrifice because I saw how delicious that food was.
Yes.
I saw how wonderful that music was. And so, I know it was a balance of business and pleasure. But having been to Oaxaca years ago, I can also attest to like the power of community and honoring our indigenous heritage. There's pressure oftentimes in our country to assimilate, but actually we are more stronger when we learn to validate and honor our various cultures, because that's what makes us strong as a nation is that diversity. So thank you so much for what you all have contributed to us. Please continue to share this learning with our families, with our students. I know it will make them very appreciative to see that you were willing to learn, right, about their culture. And thank you for modeling that for us. I really appreciate that. Anything come up for you all as board members? Questions, comments? All right. With no further questions, the Board of Education acknowledges receipt of the CABE Oaxaca recap as presented. Item 13, new business. Is there any new business that the board members wish to request? Dr. McDuffie and your team, something that I would be interested in is Linda referenced something earlier about, Ms. Cordero, excuse me, about the many wonderful resolutions we have honoring Women's History Month, Asian American Heritage Month, and so forth. And I would appreciate some follow-up of how are we living these resolutions? So here as a board, we're saying, hey, we value these things. So how is it, how are we seeing it exist in our schools? So how are we honoring Women's Heritage Month? How are we honoring Black History Month? So I would like to receive some information at a board meeting of some sort, either quarterly or, at least once a year, saying, hey, here's some of the wonderful things we've done, and here's some ideas that we have moving forward.
Thank you. We'll talk about that and determine how we can get that to the board.
Thank you very much. Item 14, Board Superintendent Reports. Mr. Lara.
Give me a minute. I'll just catch my composure here. I would like to. It's with deep sadness that I share some heartbreaking news that I think you already all have heard, that district employee Cynthia Parra Orozco passed away earlier this week. Cynthia was more than just a Santa Maria Bonita School District family member. She was a bright light in the workplace, known for her upbeat attitude, kindness, and dedication. She touched the lives of everyone she met and brought joy, positively into the workplace every day. Cynthia loved planning and organizing potlucks, parties, and events that brought people in her department and people in the Sousa Center together to celebrate. She never met a holiday she didn't love. Cynthia started with the Santa Maria Bonita School District in 2011 as a student supervision aide. She quickly promoted to the bilingual bicultural instructional assistant, and she worked at Battles and Rice. In 2014, she was promoted to Clerk 3 position at Ariana's. And in 2015, she transferred to M&O as Clerk 3. In 2016, she worked as account clerk in the business office. She promoted to Secretary 2 position in the Teaching and Learning Supplemental Department in 2017. Cynthia earned the Information Technologies position of Office Automation Specialist in May. Throughout her years in the district, Cynthia grew and excelled, distinguished herself through hard work and professionalism to earn promotions and serve our schools and students in an increasingly responsible ways. All of us will feel her loss, deeply feel her loss. Cynthia's passing also affects many people in the district throughout her family. Her mother, Maria Mota, is a lifelong district employee. Cynthia's husband, Alex, is a member of the Santa Maria Bonita School District's M&O department. Additionally, many family members and friends have come to employment in Santa Maria Bonita School District through Cynthia's unflagging recruitment. I personally worked with her father-in-law and got really connected with him and Cynthia as she was having her hard, troubled times. And I felt like she was a part of me getting to know him through her father-in-law. He loved her as his own daughter and will always care for her as his daughter and her daughter. And I know how devastating her struggle against cancer has been. During this difficult time, let's support each other and remember the wonderful memories everyone has of Cynthia. Whether it's sharing a story or a kind word, gathering to celebrate a holiday, or simply being there for one another. Let's honor her memory together. Please keep Cynthia's family, including her husband and young daughter, in your thoughts and prayers as they navigate through these challenging times. May her soul rest in peace.
Ms. Cabral?
I did go, my condolences to Ms. Parra Orozco's family and to her SMBSD family. I did attend the community schools event yesterday at Liberty School and would encourage our teachers, staff, parents, and community members to go to one of the next 3 available meetings that are coming up, because this is where we can give our voice and how we want to shape our community schools and what the needs of our students and our families and our teachers are. It was very short and very well put together so that we can discuss those needs. The next meetings will be on August 30th. That's this Friday at El Camino. September 5th, next Thursday at Taylor School, and September 10th at Battle School. So if you guys can go out there and support and put your voice out there so that we can hear you and make those changes. Thank you.
Ms. Cordero?
Yes, it was a toss-up for me whether to go to Alvin to see the beginning of their PK program or to the community schools. So that's on my list for Friday. At Alvin last night, they had a huge turnout for the PK program that is specifically aimed at supporting parents with students that are in TK through 3rd grade with a focus on literacy. While I don't understand everything, and he spoke very fast, but the slides, I could figure out a lot of it. And it was a very powerful message to parents and how important their role is in supporting the literacy development for their children. And I know Mr. Pantene was there. There were 2 or 3 other people there helping with some interpretation and the PK staff, and it was an overwhelming response. They were maybe thinking, 40 or 50, and there were easily over 200 people there. So it was well received, and I think there's another one tomorrow night at Sanchez. Am I right, Dr. Schiffer? Okay. Anyway, and then along with that, on the first day of school, I was honored to be invited to join El Camino and their staff in welcoming students to the campus. And it was a very celebratory atmosphere, and kids, while they don't really want to look you right in the face when they come through the door, they seemed pretty eager to be back at school. So that was a nice thing. it's so many things going on with back to school nights and other activities. I've not ventured out too much yet. Everybody needs to kind of get into their rhythm of how the day starts and that kind of thing. But I do plan to be out at our school sites as much as I can. So, and again, my heartfelt sympathies to the Orozco family and friends. It's always a tragic experience, but I know with love and support from their work family, we'll get through it.
Something that I came across recently made me think of all of our staff, and it's the following. It's a quote from, I believe, a gentleman by the name of Brian Scavnack. Be the nice kid. So it begins by saying, "Thank the lunch lady, thank the custodian, thank the bus driver, thank the nurse, the office staff, thank the nurse, thank the counselor, thank the librarian, thank the para." I'm assuming they mean paraeducator. Thank the volunteer. There are a lot of hardworking, helpful people that are sometimes forgotten. Thank them every day. So today, we had the privilege of honoring one of our classified staff, and I wholeheartedly believe that every staff member in our district has a role to play, a really important role to play in the development of the whole child in our district. As a teacher, I do appreciate the love and sometimes the focus that we sometimes get as educators. Still not enough, I would argue, but more so than some of our other staff. And so I really appreciated this quote because it does speak to that, to remembering to honor all of our staff and every contribution that they make. And so I really want to just take a moment to appreciate our staff, because I know that the first couple weeks are quite the shift from summer mode from those of us that have the privilege of having a summer break. The shift from summer break to starting school is quite drastic. And so I can't wait to take a nap after this meeting, because I was working with my high school students, all 150 plus of them. But there are babies right here from our district that I get to inherit. So I'm lucky. I'm very, very lucky. So we are blessed to do what we do, as challenging as it may be. And so let's continue to work collaboratively to help our students thrive. Thank you.
Thank you, President Valencia, board members. I'm going to try and keep my comments short this evening. Just to highlight, Thursday evening, August 22nd, I attended the Parent Advisory Council meeting for migrant education. Eduardo Pantin, our Director of Migrant Ed, provided really important information, talked about our Washington, D.C. trip for students who attended that this summer. And it was just really well done. I was able to welcome the parent leadership, the new parent leadership, taking over the lead in facilitating those meetings, as well as thanking the previous leadership of parents, thanking them for their courage, advocacy, and resiliency as we continue to work and unify every segment of our community even more. I want to let the community know that from September 9th through September 20th, parking will be extremely limited at Sousa Center. Our solar canopies, our structures are being installed in the front and back parking lots, similar to the work's been done at our schools. So there'll be spaces right here on the south side that'll be open for our visitors to the building. We're working on a plan diligently to have Sousa employees who work here in the office park at the alternative sites, perhaps being shuttled to the building. The Sousa Center will be open for business as usual. However, we're encouraging families and community members who can conduct their business over the phone to call first. I'd also like to echo Mr. Lara's and board members' comments about our SMBSD family member Cynthia Parr Orozco and her passing. She was a dedicated member to this family and really had the opportunity to speak with her and talk with her on several occasions as she continued to work in this office. So our thoughts and our prayers are with her family and coworkers. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. McDuffie. Item 15, adjournment. The next regular board meeting of the Santa Maria Bonita School District will be held on Wednesday, September 11, 2024. There being no further business before the board, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So be.
It is moved by Mr. Lara and seconded by Ms. Cordero to adjourn the meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
The time is now 8:19.